Well, listen, I know the ultimate goal isn't accomplished yet, but I mean, this is still a big one being here. What's the feeling like for you right now?
It's surreal. This is kind of new to me. I always knew that it was going to happen. I didn't think it was going to be on the Ultimate Fighter, but that's all the better. You know, I get more exposure that way, and people get an idea of who I really am from the show and what I've come up from in my family. So, just the opportunity to be here is awesome, once in a lifetime, and I'm going to make the most of it.
What gave you that confidence to know that, you know, I'm going to be there someday?
Part of it's the situation with my son. I knew that if we could get through what we've been through with him, that I could make it this far, because that was a lot tougher than fighting in the house or fighting in any cage fight. My son fights every day to do what he's doing. But also just the competitive nature of myself. I like to be the best at everything I do, whether it's running, eating, swimming, going. I like to deer hunt a lot, of course, being in Arkansas, so I feel like I like to be the best hunter I possibly. I like to be the best fighter I can be, and I knew that I have the ability to fight, and I want to be the best fighter I can be. So put me in the house with 7 other guys. I want to be the number 1 guy in the house. You put me in the UFC, I'm going to try to get to that number 1 spot. Right now we're fighting for the contract, so that's what I'm after.
Yeah, I think that's the right attitude for any fighter. So you're going to be number 1. You weren't a number 1 draft pick, so I mean, no. I wonder what you felt like that. I mean, these guys are assessing you. They're supposed to know what's going on. Did that, hurt your feelings at all? Did it motivate you?
It motivates me. I'm always the underdog. I've always been the underdog. I'm not one of those guys that's going to duck a fight and try to take an easy fighter. So they call me, you say, you want to do this, that's fine. I don't care to fight the number 1 pick, Anderson Silva. The funny part is the show's edited, one way or another, but when we were in they got to pick that fight. That's the fight they wanted. The bad part was I asked for that fight in our corner. I was like, hey, if we get the option, that's the fight I want. I want to fight Anderson first. The crazy thing is, this is probably going to sound wild to a lot of people, but I told my dad and my wife and all my family that they knew I was winning, because if I didn't win my first fight, you can bet I'd have got kicked off the show. I was going to go home. I had no reason to be there after that. So they knew that once I was there past 2 weeks, well, he won his first fight, obviously, or he'd already be home. And I wanted the number 1 guy. I felt like that was a good matchup for me. And then, to be honest, Batista was the number 1 guy I was worried about when I got in there. I have text messages before I ever got in the house where I was at tryouts, and I was like, man, this is the one guy that intimidates me on his wrestling factor. And in the house, my mental game got built up. Great coaching staff, great camp, and ended up getting Batista in the 2nd round and making it happen too. So, just enjoying the whole experience is awesome.
Nice. So what do you think about the matchup that you have for the finals? I mean, a large man, but I guess you're used to facing large guys in the heavyweight division.
Everyone's bigger than me, especially taller. Honestly, I really don't like fighting the shorter fighters. I like having I like getting inside and getting underneath, getting inside of reach, and kind of brawling a little bit. And then when I get on top, height doesn't make a whole lot of difference, of course. Juan's experienced. Juan's a tough guy. He's an older guy. I can tell you right now, I've trained with him some in the fighter tryouts when we were trying to get in the house. He's very strong. I know he's got a good wrestling game. His overhand's obviously pretty good. He caught Maurice with it. Me and Maurice are 2 different guys. We have 2 different styles of fighting. I feel like I'm dangerous in other aspects that Maurice isn't, and vice versa. So I look forward to a war. I hope Juan is ready for a war. Fight of the night bonus would be awesome, and I hope we beat the shit out of each other for 15 minutes.
Nice. Most people like a performance of the night bonus, because that means they went in there and shut it down.
Well, I've got not necessarily a UFC performance bonus, but I'm 10-2 outside of the Tough House and all first round finishes, and those 10 wins. I'm used to that. The first time I actually had fun in a fight was against Anderson going into the 2nd round. Not that I particularly want to, and that knockout bonus is great and everything, but something I've never experienced as a decision, and something besides the Anderson fight, and something I've never experienced as a fight of the night bonus. I have a lot more respect for those guys. MMA is one of those deals, especially heavyweight, 1 touch can finish a fight. That's fine and dandy. It's always an option. But when you have a 3-round war and you guys absolutely go at it, kind of like the Pettis-Ferguson fight, I mean, that's why we fight. That's awesome. That was one of the best fights I've ever seen. Something like that that's just as good as this opportunity. It's a once in a lifetime. You learn a lot about yourself, I think, in a fight like that, and that's what I'm interested in.
Talk about your preparation for this. I mean, did you prepare with the same camp that you had before? Did you change things up with people you met? Did you go to a new team? How did you get ready for this fight?
Absolutely. I learned a lot in the house as far as training, and I realized that I wasn't pushing myself to my full ability, and probably still have more to even go. One thing Kelvin Gastelum said in the house is you'll learn a lot about yourself when you learn how far you can stretch your clip, referring to, you may start out with a 9-round clip, but if you can get it to where you can put 15 bullets in there, you're going to be a lot more deadly. So how far can you stretch that clip? Of course, I went back home. My head coach, Matt Sellers, Without Limits, he put me through the grinder. I had Maurice Green come down and train with me during this deal. We got some work in together. He came in for a couple weeks. Tom Erickson, he's 4-time national champion wrestler, college level. He is a monster. I worked with him the entire camp. And then Kevin Corbett, NAIA wrestling, 4-time All-American, worked with him quite a bit. They put me through some grinding cardio sessions and wrestling, getting ready for Juan. Went to Yuma, back with some of the original staff from my tough team, Team Gastelum. Terrell Hunsinger was there running that deal. We worked with a bunch of good wrestlers from Yuma and striking coaches and just polished up the last 2 weeks, got camp ready, and we're ready to fight.
Very nice. Last thing for me, I mean, it sounds like you're ready for this thing to go the distance.
Man, I was ready. I'm prepared to go the distance. Of course, if I get to finish, that's fine and dandy too. I was ready to fight 2 weeks ago. It's Friday, can't get here fast enough.
You talked a little bit about the mental side of things. Is that one of the biggest things that you got out of the house, was the mental stress that it put on you and what you were able to take out of it?
I actually felt like probably from what I have endured with the situation with my son living in the hospital, the heart transplant, the sickness, and that's not the only thing. My dad was real sick at one point in time. During all that, he had to have a liver transplant. So I was dealing with a whole bunch at one time. And I feel like my mental toughness got a lot better. I felt like mentally I was probably the strongest in the house. I had nothing to lose. I was the last pick. No one really even expected for me to make the show, that I even should be on the show, and now I'm in the finale. So I had everything to gain. I did learn a lot. I actually went to dinner with Henry Cejudo one night, and we sat down, and he carries a book with him everywhere he goes, and it's got different phrases and sayings he's heard his coaches and mental stuff. And he said a couple things to me which verbally are probably inappropriate to cover on this, but I'll just say this much: they're inspiring. And then they laid it out on the line. Short to the point, this guy can't beat me. There's no physical way I'm going to let him beat me. He's not going to be able to out-decision me. He don't have no more gas than I do. He's not going to knock me out. I've been hit by Derek Lewis. He didn't knock me out. So I've been there. He's not going to submit me. I'm going to be better than him. I'm going to be stronger than him. I'm going to be faster than him. And that's just the mentality I kept in the house. It worked for me. I used to be a head case. I used to get in my head real bad before fights. I'm 12 fights in now. That doesn't matter anymore. I had 15 amateur fights before that. So we're 25 fights plus the 2 fights in the house. I've had some fights. I'm well versed on the mental part. I've got a son. There's no one going to take food out of my baby's mouth. That's the way I look at it. And I put myself in a tight spot in the cage. I know what my why is and who I'm fighting for. I know what I'm doing. I'm trying to better my family. That's where my mental state's at right now.
Doesn't sound like you're lacking motivation whatsoever. But
absolutely not.
As far as what it takes to get there and to get this prize and the money and the trophy, what does that all mean to you to be able to accomplish that if you should get there?
That's just icing on top of the cake. The fact that I get to benefit my family and take care of them is the main goal. The trophy, that's awesome. I look forward to that. The paycheck, of course, everyone likes a good paycheck. The bonus, everyone's going to want that bonus. So that's just extra benefits that I get from winning this deal. Honestly, to me, my pride and not losing to Juan is more important to me than that paycheck. It's more important to me that trophy. Yeah, I want to have that trophy. I had someone send me a photoshopped image of Kelvin Gastelum this morning, standing there, my head on top of his body. They got my tattoo cropped onto his chest. I'm holding the trophy. He said, 73 hours, this is what you're going to be doing. So I woke up to that at like 4 o'clock this morning. That pumped me up. It was great seeing that. I looked at it, I'm like, exactly, I've had that same image in my head 100 times a day. But that's not the only reason I'm doing this. Those are all extra bonuses and benefits that's going to come from it. But the number one thing is providing for my family and my self-pride.
I appreciate you bringing up your son. I was going to ask you to maybe clarify for those of us that maybe don't know the full details. Can you talk a little bit about that situation and how that has put this all into perspective?
Okay. My son, Brantley, 6 years old. He's born August 30th of 2012. He's 3 foot tall, stands about that tall. He weighs 30 pounds. Actually, he'll correct me on that. He weighs 32.3 pounds right now. He messaged me when I was in Yuma. He's gained some weight, so he's pumped about that. He's by far the smartest 6-year-old you ever see. He will argue and carry on like you wouldn't believe. At 2 weeks old, Brantley had a heart transplant. He was like at the time, he was the second youngest heart transplant recipient in the world. I think he weighed around 6 pounds when that happened. They had to leave his chest open for about 2 weeks because the heart that they got him from another child was actually still physically too big to fit into his chest, and they had to let the swelling and everything go down to. So he literally sat there, you could see his heart beating in his chest. We lived in the hospital for nearly 18 months. In that time, some of the medicine that he took gave him PTLD, post-transplant lymphoma. So we fought cancer. He was on chemo while trying to recover from a heart transplant. We got to hold him at what, 6 months? So I think he was close to 6 months old. It's the first time we got to actually, hold our child. I lived in the hospital the whole time, lived off of savings from money that I'd saved from fights and when I was working, selling insurance, etc. And now he's batting 1,000. He's home right now. He's rooting me on. I'm looking forward to the weigh-ins tomorrow because he wrote me a letter that I get to read after weigh-ins. I don't get to read it before, so I'm really pumped about that. He wrote me a letter before I left for this last 2 weeks. Dad, I know you're going to kick butt. You don't have any other option to do that, but just for good luck, I'm going to send Uno with you. And I'll explain who Uno is in just a second. He said, I'm going to send Uno with you for good luck because he was there for me when I needed good luck. And Uno is it's the very first sock monkey, the first Uno sock monkey he got. He was 2 days old, and he was laying there, and it's like a plastic container. They got the shield over him, all these lines and stuff running into him because he had a surgery the second day old. They cut him open and they put PA bands on him, which stop the blood flow to your lungs so the oxygen get to the rest of his body because his original heart had holes in it, it wasn't working. And he said, Uno was there for me when I needed good luck. Not that you need good luck, but I'm sending Uno with you anyways because I know this last part of 2 weeks of camp is going to be rough. So here's your good luck for that. Go kick butt, and I'll see you December 2nd when you get home. So that's what I'm looking forward to. I'm honestly, Friday can't get here fast enough because I get to go home on Saturday and I get to go see my son. Then after that, me and him, I built him a rifle this year. He's 6, he's tiny, so I built him a little rifle to deer hunt with. He's legally old enough to hunt in Arkansas now, so we're going to spend a lot of time in a tree stand, and he's going to get to experience what I like to do, and we're going to have a good time. I look forward to that.
That's awesome.
Thank you
very much for
You
sharing.
bet.
Cool.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, guys.